Hey, Romanus.
Hey, Davis.
You and everyone else listening will kind of have to excuse me today because I'm feeling a little bit under the weather. So if you hear that nasally tone in my voice, that's me feeling under the weather.
No, it's okay. You know, sometimes I think I feel sexier when I sound sick, you know? Like my voice just kind of feels deeper,
Okay,
you know?
that's cool.
More sultry.
Sultry.
Sick and sultry.
Sick and sultry.
Yeah, baby.
You're an SS man.
Oh. Well, this is
No.
podcast.
Add an A in front of those SS's and
Yeah,
you'll just
whatever.
be the ass man.
Ass man?
Yeah, like Kramer.
Everything in this podcast goes to Seinfeld, which I do love.
Me too. I just watched that episode recently.
Oh,
so.
dude. You're an ass, man.
No, but so it's funny because I want us to kind of talk about Ridley Scott today. In addition to the fact we're just going to be talking about Gladiator II. But Ridley Scott's one of my favorite filmmakers of all time.
Yeah, because you love Alien.
Yeah, like if I were to name my top 5 right now, it'd be like The Last Duel,
Oh,
which
yeah.
I rewatched yesterday.
Amazing.
Incredible movie.
Absolutely.
Just like even better the second time. Black Hawk Down, Alien, The Martian is probably my number 1.
Wow.
And I don't remember the other one at the moment, but those are some of my favorite ones.
He's up there with Scorsese
I would
and
say so.
Tarantino with
He's
some
less
of the best
consistent
American directors.
than
for
somebody
sure.
like Scorsese because I don't think either of us saw Napoleon last year, did we?
Hell no.
Yeah, I didn't see
And by the way, we both, at the beginning of last year, we said, we're looking forward to seeing Napoleon. And
that was like
just
our
didn't do it.
megalopolis of last year where we just kept telling ourselves we're going to go see this movie. We're going to go see this movie. And then we just never did.
But maybe it's worse because it wasn't even a movie that we were excited to talk shit about.
Not
it
really.
just didn't land. And Ridley Scott has made some duds and made some classics.
Exactly. But he keeps making movies, which is why I respect him so much because he's clearly never discouraged by any reception or box office performances because The Last Duel came out. It was one of those movies like post-pandemic that was not heavily marketed, was very expensive, was exceptional, and tanked at the box office. Like, had a historical record for tanking, like how bad it was. And I think then a couple months after that, House of Gucci came out, and I saw that, and I really did not like that movie. And I think that really perfectly illustrates the dichotomy of Ridley Scott as a filmmaker, because he kind of did the same thing in 2017 as well, when he made Alien Covenant and All the Money in the World within the same year. And both honestly were pretty good, but one I feel like has been more talked about than the other, that being the Alien film. But today, we are here now with another Ridley Scott movie. He's churning them out a lot more these days, it kind of seems like. And at the scope that he's working at, it's pretty impressive that he's able to get these kinds of movies made in such what feels like a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And
he's 86.
I know. He's an old fucking man.
Yeah, but I do respect maybe the same for Coppola. I just respect that at that age you still have the ambition to work, and
exactly
these are ambitious movies, right? They're very expensive. They have great casts, so it just
a lot of production value.
Absolutely, they do take energy and thought.
And you see it all on the screen when you're watching them, too. No matter whether it's like one of his science fiction films or a historical epic or some sort of deviating film from kind of the things he's known for, like The Counselor or Thelma and Louise. He's mastered the craft as a filmmaker, like for better or worse. He'll have, like, for every great film that he has that comes out, they'll usually follow some sort of a underwhelming or just bad movie from him, too. But he keeps churning them out.
Yeah.
And you got to respect it for that reason. So, yeah. So anyway, we're going to lead into this Gladiator film. My name is Davis Leaf. This is the Loose Leaf Media Podcast. I'm here with my co-host,
Romanus.
And today we are talking about Ridley Scott's Gladiator II, which I saw 4 hours ago, and you saw last night.
I did see it last night.
We're recording this on November 22nd, so...
The official release date.
Yes. So we're clearly coming in with some pretty fresh thoughts on this movie. And to be totally honest, I walked out of this movie and then I immediately saw Kendrick Lamar dropped an album. And I was like, wait, what movie did I just watch right now? I forgot all about it.
Well, I mean,
it's kind of
in fairness to the movie, but in fairness to the movie, you are a huge Kendrick Lamar fan.
Huge.
So there aren't many movies that...
Like if I were to choose between going to see listen to a new Kendrick Lamar album or watching a new Ridley Scott movie, I would choose Kendrick Lamar.
I mean, at this point, that's probably anybody over the age of 70.
True. Like if it was like a new Ridley Scott Alien movie, that would be different. I don't even
know about that though. With Covenant and
I love all of his Alien movies.
Prometheus?
Oh yes.
Okay. Some people didn't like Covenant.
Covenant and Prometheus are definitely the most polarizing films I think in the Alien series, but I still love them and I think they've aged pretty gracefully and given people a lot more. They're a lot more substance driven, I think, than like the original Alien film.
And he's doing something similar here, where he's taking one of his. No matter what anyone says, Gladiator is one of his fan favorites, right? People love that movie. I love that movie, especially this time of the year when I feel like Gladiator would come on like AMC or TNT on the.
This is a good time of year for this movie to kind of release.
Yeah.
Like that Thanksgiving period.
Yeah.
Like makes you want to gather your family together and just like, let's go see this huge historical epic.
And about 30, no, this was made in 2000. So 24 years later, he's making the sequel to one of the movies that people love the most from his work. And
it's so renowned, you can almost say that there's a whole generation of people that can attribute Gladiator as a movie that made them fall in love with movies. Yeah. I don't know if that's distinctively true, but I can imagine there's a lot of people that really started their journey of, being a cinephile with Gladiator.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite movies. I think it also propelled Russell Crowe's career. I really think he took off, and maybe his magnum opus as an actor.
Maybe.
What else have you seen him in? Like
Russell Crowe as an actor?
Yeah, I'm saying what movie is better that he's been in than Gladiator?
I like him more in movies like The Insider or even The Nice Guys.
Okay. Oh, wait. Nigga, no. I'm sorry. I have to disagree.
That's fine.
Wait. Whoa. Okay. You just have a bias against the first Gladiator movie. Let's be real.
I define bias in this case.
You don't like the Gladiator movie.
I don't hate it. It's just not what it's. I just don't revere it as highly as a lot of other people do.
What is? No, you know what? I apologize. Let's just get to the review. I'm sick of this motherfucker.
See, I don't know if you're gonna love all my thoughts about.
No, no. We're you know what? Let's just get into it. Let me read a summary of Gladiator 2, and then we'll talk about it.
Cool.
Okay. Gladiator 2. After his home is conquered by the tyrannical emperors who now lead Rome, Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum and must look to his past to find strength to return the glory of Rome to its people. Davis, what did you think of Gladiator 2?
Blah, blah, blah. So, what I thought of Gladiator 2 was that it was a movie that for 2.5 hours I felt I cared about absolutely nothing going on the entire time. But goddamn did Ridley Scott make it look good. And I give him a lot of credit. I can't really say I was bored watching this movie. The action sequences are so spectacle driven and so beautiful, and I was really enjoying all of those components of the movie. Beyond that point, I don't really have a lot of thoughts on this film. It was fine. I'm pretty 50-50 on it. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. The acting was fine in the movie. I know a lot of people have been talking about how like Denzel is the guy in this movie, and I'm like, even with him, I'm like, he was good. But, you know, again, I didn't care about his character. The most I had to care about was his acting performance as the character, which was good and elevates it, but I didn't care. Paul Mescal is good. I've seen him in a lot better. I think he has leading man chops for sure, and this movie proves it in that way. But again, just didn't really care about the character. And Pedro Pascal, to me, was probably the most interesting character in the entire movie.
You mean the main character?
Pedro Pascal?
Oh, damn.
Paul Mescal.
I keep getting Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal mixed up.
That's fair.
Yeah. Jesus
Pedro
Christ.
Mescal.
Pedro Mescal.
Paul Pascal.
Paul Pascal.
let's keep
Tina
it that.
Tequila.
Yeah, let's keep it that way for the rest of the
why
recording.
Not?
I think that Pedro Pascal's character has like the most depth in this movie, in my opinion, and so I liked it. But beyond that, the characters, honestly, that stood out to me were the two fucking emperors, the twins.
Yeah.
They were so over the top and hilarious in this movie where I'm like, see, they did their research. They were like, okay, let's look at what Joaquin Phoenix did in the original Gladiator and then just dial that up a little bit. And for that reason, I'm like, they're the most enjoyable characters on screen because they're exhibiting the most charisma. And I kind of hate saying that when you got Denzel Washington in your movie. But they were scene stealers for me for whatever reason. Joseph Quinn and Fred Heidecker were really killing it in this movie. But again, their characters are so one-dimensional that I just didn't give a fuck what happened to them. And those are my first thoughts on the movie. I'd rather hear yours since you love the original a little bit more than I do. A lot of it more.
Yeah, this movie was fucking terrible. And it doesn't.
I'm so sorry, bro.
No. Honestly, when I left the theater, I said to myself, "It's Twisters all over again, but reversed."
Kind of is,
because I knew that this movie, in reality, right, like just in a vacuum, this movie isn't bad enough for you to hate it. And it's not good enough for you to like it.
This is the reverse Twisters.
This is reverse Twisters.
Because you were kind of just like,
Exactly.
I don't really care about Twisters.
Exactly.
And I just hated that movie.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, I don't really care. I barely have an opinion about this.
Exactly. I thought
I love this.
I immediately thought of you because I was like, yeah, I know what Davis is going to say. He's going to say that it just,
Yeah.
Like I was about Twisters. It was like, I didn't have a bad time, but I didn't have a good time either. I just was in a theater and watching some shit on the screen.
That's exactly how I felt.
But
you know
watching,
me so well.
I think I do. You're my good friend.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I watching Gladiator II was painful.
Really?
It was uncomfortable. There were times in the movie where I just was looking at my watch like, get me the fuck out of here. And if I didn't have a podcast, then I have to say that I would have left.
Yeah?
I would have left.
Huh?
Yeah, and maybe I should have because
it's 2.5 fucking hours.
It's 2.5 hours and you don't feel invested in any of the characters. Like you say that you try to say that what is this motherfucker's name? And honestly, Pedro Pascal. Yeah. So Pedro Pascal.
Who cares about the character names?
I'm not saying shit about this movie. So you say Pedro Pascal is the character that you cared about the most, and I'm willing to say sure. Like I'm not gonna argue with that. But this movie just pales in comparison to what the first Gladiator is.
See, that's what I would agree with.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, damn, I do want to watch the original now because I feel like I would like it more.
Yeah. No, and it tries to copy a lot of the sort of things that Gladiator did.
I fucking hate when legacy sequels kind of do that shit. Like this is the Hollywood effect where it's just like you have a movie that's highly renowned that comes out like decades before some sort of a sequel or reinvention is released.
Yeah.
And then the reinvention just turns out to be the exact same movie.
Yeah.
Because they need to reintroduce a whole new audience to this concept, but we can't be risky with it. We can't throw in any new ideas. And that, like you just said, that is exactly what this movie does.
Yeah,
it's not perfect copy and paste, but it's like a paraphrase of the original.
And it's terrible because I think they're about the same runtime.
They are.
Yeah.
And when I saw the original, I saw Ridley Scott's director's cut, which was almost 3 hours long.
Right.
I've never actually seen just the regular theatrical cut, because Ridley Scott is just known for having director's cuts that are better, and I would agree with that. His director's cuts tend to be better. But this is about as long as the theatrical cut of the original. And now I'm just like, okay.
I've only seen the theatrical cut. Dude, I mean, what more can I say than this movie was a piece of shit? And it's if this movie wasn't attached to the first Gladiator, it'd be like, I'd probably agree with you where it's like, this movie had pretty good action.
It would have felt more original.
It would have felt more original, but unfortunately, a better movie was made 24 years ago.
Deadass.
And it takes a lot of the same characters.
Was there even any like CGI in the original? I'm pretty sure they used like real tigers and shit.
They did use. Yeah. Oh, nigga, we're gonna get to that. Yeah. Okay.
Because like that took me off guard the first time that we get introduced to the CGI monkeys.
Yes. The CGI monkeys.
And I was just like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If they weren't in this movie, they would probably look good.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, everything looks so practical in this movie that they stick out like a sore thumb.
Yes. All of the CGI
monkeys, the
animals.
rhinos.
The rhino.
Immediately when the rhino,
sharks,
the
nigga,
fucking sharks.
The fucking.
I was so mad about the sharks. And
God.
I was like, ooh, we're going to get some sharks. And then immediately we get a close up on one of the sharks. And I'm like, that kind of looks bad.
They turned gladiators into Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was like a evil game show where, this isn't back in the day where the Coliseum was just dirt. We're gonna pump water and flood the Coliseum, and we also have sharks. Where the fuck were these Romans transporting these sharks? How like
the are there sharks in the Mediterranean? I don't know.
I don't know.
I know, right?
But and it like in a oh my god, this movie fucking sucked. I put all the responsibility of this movie being terrible to Ridley Scott. These are only decisions that Ridley Scott can make, right? This isn't on. I don't blame any of the actors. The actors, it's like
nobody's performing badly.
No.
The acting is solid. It's just they got no material to work
there's with. no one. I don't even blame the key grip. Like there's no one to blame but Ridley Scott. And for some reason, his hubris won't allow him to just say, "Okay, I made this good movie in the past. Let me just leave it. Let me leave Alien alone. Let me leave Gladiator alone."
Literally.
And it's okay to make new shitty movies because at least you tried something.
And this is like just a cycle with him as a filmmaker. Like how you go from 3 years ago making a historical epic like The Last Duel, which again, just watched yesterday. Incredible on every component, like every single component, the acting, the technicalities, the production value, the music, the visuals, everything is perfect in that movie. I think it's like one of his best movies he's ever made.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how come you can do a historical, you've proven you can still do a historical epic in a time where those movies don't really exist anymore. And you can make it one of the best movies and still one of the worst movies ever. Like, how are you? That is baffling to me.
Davis, I love you. I'm gonna need to go off the top of the dome for a few minutes.
Oh yeah, I want to hear everything.
And by the way, there's no spoiler section, but I'm just fucking talk.
Yeah.
Okay. This episode doesn't require 3 baselines.
No.
Okay.
That's fine. No spoilers for this because
no baselines for this.
Here's the thing. Here, we'll just give you the disclaimer.
Sure.
We might spoil some stuff, but we're not going to transition into it because. Sure, if you want to have like a fun theatrical time at the movies, it's cool on the big screen in some ways, in my opinion. But I don't know, doesn't really come with my highest recommendation, so I don't give a shit.
I'm gonna
if you
say,
don't, I don't.
No, sure.
No, I'm excited.
I'm gonna say, don't fucking see this movie.
Okay.
And you're probably better off finding Gladiator on television or on a streaming website that you probably already have.
It's funny. I went and saw Wicked the other day too.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel probably about the same about that movie as I do this. But the thing about Wicked is there was a lot more innovation and a lot more charisma from that movie.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a movie with roughly the same amount, like same runtime. It's a very long movie. But oh my God, it's better to look at and it's a lot more charismatic.
Yeah. I also, my second thought after this movie, it's funny that you are regurgitating back to me the thoughts that I had immediately after this movie. I thought to myself, I should have just gone to see Wicked, because at least I would be going in fresh into a movie, and if it's even just okay, I'm fine with a just okay movie for 2.5 hours.
Bro, my theater was so charismatic during that, like that screening. Like people were dressing up and everything. Yeah, yeah. It was like a whole thing.
Yeah,
and that helped with the experience of watching Wicked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm a theater kid. I'm a musical guy. I've always just kind of been on the fence about how I feel about that musical in general. Mm-hmm. I've read the book. The book is pretty decent, but I'm watching this movie and I'm like, I'm open to being surprised. I really wasn't, but I didn't hate the experience.
Right.
I had a really good time.
Yeah.
I'm watching this movie and I checked my watch at one point. I hated that I did that. I was just like, because there's a moment in this movie where I think it's about to wrap up. Mm-hmm. And spoiler alert, it's when one of the key characters dies. And I was just like, okay, we're getting to the end of this. Yeah. And then it goes off for another 40 minutes and I'm like, shit.
And we're talking about a Ridley Scott movie.
Yeah. I hate that. I hate that I have to do this.
I've never. Okay, Scorsese has some long ass movies. I've never just looked at my watch like, when is this shit over? I've never done that.
Nah, not even with like Killers of the Flower Moon.
No,
like that's one of the longest movies of all time, and he makes full use of that runtime by not having any dead weight. Every scene in that movie just has emotional weight to it and is relevant to whatever is going to come next. And it all pays off perfectly in the end. It's worth sitting there for 3.5 hours. And I would do it again because it's a great movie.
And that's what I want to go off the top of the dome for a few minutes, if you will allow
Please.
Me. Thank you. This movie, if I have to just point to one thing that is critically wrong with it, is the pacing. The pacing of this movie is fucking terrible. And it doesn't help that the cast is much bigger than the first Gladiator. In the first Gladiator, you're really only watching 3 main characters. You're watching Russell Crowe, Connie Nielsen, and Joaquin Phoenix. But in that 2.5 hours, you feel like you get a lot of depth from all 3, particularly Maximus, played by Russell Crowe, right? And so now when you get to this movie, now there's Paul Mescal, then there's Denzel Washington, there's Pedro Pascal, there's Connie Nielsen again, there's the 2 emperors. Like there's just, this cast got too big for its britches, and now you're jumping around too much in between. You know, instead of 3 characters, now you're jumping around 7, and it just, it was mind-boggling how this movie, it almost makes you feel like it's telling you care about our characters instead of showing us that we should care about the characters. So in the first Gladiator, there's tons of like little scenes, little details where, man, this is a man who is just torn to pieces that his wife and his son were murdered and he wasn't there to protect them. And he's like collecting, he grabs her feet while she's being, like, she was crucified, and he goes to her feet and kisses her feet, and he's sobbing, and there's like snot. There's a moment when Russell Crowe is, you know, now a gladiator. He's not a Roman general anymore. And they're waiting in the cages to be released and ready to fight, right?
Yes.
And so he is very stoic, just like watching, like cool, calm, collected, just because he's been here before. He's fought motherfuckers before. And the guy in front of him is just pissing down his leg.
Yeah, I remember that.
And and Russell Crowe just looks down to see the guy pissing on his leg and just looks back up like nothing happened. And little details like that.
Little details, yeah.
Just so, and I could give you.
They add so much.
They had so much. I could give you 1 billion of those things in the first Gladiator. And
somebody that doesn't remember that, I can believe it. Remember a lot of those details, but I remember that moment after you reminded me just now.
Right.
But it's like, I'm sure there are a lot of details like that.
There's none of that in this Gladiator 2. And I'll give even just following the main characters between the two, right? We're now in spoilers, so I can say whatever the fuck I want.
Go for it.
Paul Mescal is this guy who is the true heir to the Roman emperor throne.
Because he's the son of Maximus.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, but even though it's pretty obvious, like
God,
you don't have to know, like you can go into this movie assuming that, and you're gonna be right. Like, what else is it gonna be?
Yeah.
Like Maximus had a kid that we knew of from the original, and Paul Mescal is roughly the age that kid would be 24 years later. So, like, who cares?
Who cares? No, and honestly, except for me, and after this review, I don't give a fuck anymore. But so fuck, where was I? Maximus has a kid. That's the main character for Gladiator II, Lucius. Great. So he hates Rome because he had to run away. His mother, who was the daughter of the old emperor who got murdered by Joaquin Phoenix.
Richard Harris's character. From
Yes,
the original,
exactly.
you know.
Great actor. Great, fantastic. He's fucking dead. And now the Lucius is living in Africa with his African boo, and he's like, hey, like, I'm just fucking, I'm a farmer really. And then Paul Mescal comes with his boats and just wreaks havoc because they're Roman, and that's what Romans do. They just
they conquer everything.
Exactly. That first battle, I felt nothing. Like, it just wasn't long enough, and it
especially when you consider like the first battle in the original one.
Oh my god,
incredible stuff.
And even the pacing was just so much better in the first one. In the first one, during the big battle, right? There's so much that's going on in the first Gladiator's first war with, I guess, the Vikings. There's one part where Russell Crowe is in a crowd. He's fighting people, and he feels somebody bumps in the back of him, and he turns around and he's about to hack the person who just bumps in behind him, and he sees that, oh, this is a person in my army. Okay, let me stop. And like, you can see the relief on the other soldier's face. They're like, oh, my general is a great fighter, and he's here. He's not over in the bushes just watching us kill each other. He is here with me, defending me. He's got my back. I got his. Oh my fucking god, it's amazing. None of that in the second Gladiator. No. Nothing.
There's like no chemistry between any characters in this movie.
And really, in the second one, they're mushing two story points together. It's the first battle and the death of the wife, right? So it just rushes these two important points, but we can't just enjoy either. We don't really get a sense of him as a husband or as a leader or fighter. Okay, another part. Just if you don't believe me, if you don't think that this movie is a fucking piece of shit, they are drawing comparisons between how they become gladiators, right? So in the first Gladiator, Russell Crowe goes to an arena, is fighting motherfuckers, and just cool, calm, collected. Like, people see, oh man, this is a guy who can really fight.
Yep.
He can handle a sword, and he's not the biggest guy, but he is just obviously experienced, and people respect that from him. And he's even guiding people. He's becoming a leader. Like, he's saying, if you follow me, we'll all live. There's moments where the biggest motherfucker, that's the gladiator, like really tall guy, he's from Germania, he gets a sword.
Was that Jamon's character?
Yes.
Yeah.
He gets an arrow to the knee.
Yeah.
And falls down, and Russell Crowe saves the guy. Like, from Russell Crowe's character, Maximus leaves the safety of the other gladiators and saves the big guy. Like, this is a guy that you want to fight for, no matter where he goes. If he's
he's got your back,
he's got your back. If he's the Roman general, or if he's just a no-name gladiator, the Spaniard, you just are completely sold. We believe in this guy. This guy is someone who you want to fight for. In Gladiator 2, Paul Mescal bites a monkey, and Denzel Washington says, "This nigga can fight."
I know, right?
I like this motherfucker.
Like, okay.
Like, what? What? Huh? And mind you, it takes on screen, it takes 3 fights for Russell Crowe. I'm putting numbers to this shit. It takes like 3 fights.
Game with stats.
Oh, I did.
I love that.
3 fights. Just one of them was in the Coliseum. It was 2 fights in like the smaller ring, and it's like, okay, you got. I see you. You've proven yourself. Let's go to the big leagues.
Yep.
In Gladiator II, Paul Mescal bites a monkey, boxes a motherfucker in a party, and then he's about to go
perform like
the Coliseum
in a professional setting or whatever.
and the other thing, like the other gladiators for some reason think that he's a leader.
Yeah, that was always weird to me watching this movie. I was like, this movie really is retreading a lot of the plot details of the original without giving us a reason to care about this character.
Nothing. And I just gave you some pretty cool moments in the first Gladiator where it's like, oh no, like,
because it's a better movie.
Yeah, it is. And oh my God. Okay. The biggest thing, in the first Gladiator, we know who Russell Crowe is, right? We know who, we've seen the story. We've seen him be the Roman general, and then he's betrayed by Joaquin Phoenix's character, and we see him become a gladiator, and we see his journey up to the confrontation when Russell Crowe unmasks himself and turns around and says that I'm Maximus. I'm the general of whatever legion for the true emperor Marcus Aurelius. I'm, father, husband.
It's like it's worth it. It's like that's a great like reveal. It's a great payoff, and you feel the emotional weight of that moment.
Yes,
because that scene has earned that moment.
Yes, and now Joaquin Phoenix, he hears the cheering that Maximus is getting from the crowd when he's deciding Maximus's fate, and he knows, oh, if I kill this motherfucker in front of all these people, it's gonna cause a riot.
Everyone's gonna turn, yeah.
But you believe, like, he is a hero. We've seen him fight these fights. We've seen him, like, we've seen why the other gladiators are taking Maximus's back.
He feels like a unifying force because he, without saying it, expresses that he cares.
Yes.
He values the life of the people around him.
Yes.
He's got principles and values.
Yeah.
He's had all this shit taken away from me by this one person, and he's watching Joaquin Phoenix's Emperor take all of these lives away from so many other people, creating, a famine and forcing slaves to fight each other to the death for everybody's amusement, which, is all historically accurate and everything, but it makes it easier in the historical context to root for a character like Maximus because he recognizes this, he sympathizes with it, and actually takes steps without saying it to rectify all of this. In this movie, it's just like, what the fuck does Lucius even do in this movie?
So that's what, like, the whole movie.
What's one thing that gave me a compelling reason to give a shit? Like that his wife or girlfriend dies in the beginning. It's just like, that's the same movie as the first one.
Yeah,
it's a retread.
The whole movie fumbles Lucius's reveal. By the way, it is not as big. It's not as emotionally impactful because we just don't care about it.
We don't care, and it's not something that's earned because. We already know.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
It's not, there's nothing to reveal.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is Legacy Sequel 101. This is just what you do. And you get a sense of that within the first 10 minutes of the movie. It's just like, I can probably picture where all of this is going. Like, this character is going to become a gladiator to try and get revenge on Pedro Pascal, but then we're getting a lot of background on Pedro Pascal to know that's like, he's not such a bad guy. He's just being forced to do this for these greedy emperors. And then, Denzel Washington just kind of ends up in the movie and then tries to have some sort of a hostile takeover of everything. And it's like, when you see him manipulating and playing both sides, it's like, oh, okay, so I see where this is going. He's really the main villain here because he's just manipulating the good and the bad for his own gain. And then it's just going to end in a confrontation with him. He's like, Mescal's going to win. And then the movie ends. And that's what happens. You can pinpoint where this movie's going within the first 5 to 10 minutes. It's like standard writing with a little bit of retreading of the original movie.
But it's not. It's just worse because, like I said, the pacing is worse, and the
pacing is so bad in this movie.
You introduce more characters, which ruins the pacing even more. If you make it one emperor, it may be I don't fucking know how to fix this movie. I don't want it to be fixed.
I am. Well, that's the thing. It's like it's one of those things where it's like a lot of people are going to see this movie right now, but can we all just sit down and collectively admit, for whatever opinion you have on it, that nobody fucking asked for this movie.
Sure.
Not a single person was just like, we need a sequel to Gladiator. No. Nobody said that. I didn't, like, I don't know anybody that was, like, thirsting for this.
It made me think about Fury Road, because I said, yeah, no one asked for another Mad Max movie, but Fury Road was fucking awesome.
Thank God we got it.
Yeah.
But it's like, even like when you watch Furiosa this year, it's like a movie that we were lukewarm on, but in hindsight, I'm like, I've been warming up to the idea of rewatching that movie at some point, and I think about that movie a little bit while watching this, because when you think about, like, what are, like, the most expensive, large-scale blockbusters that come out this year, Furiosa is one of them, even though it made no money back. That movie is far more original and innovative than anything this movie does.
Yeah, it's like an anthology.
It is. Yeah. And it works in that way. And why couldn't they just take some sort of a step like that? If they're going to make a sequel to Gladiator, you don't have to connect it to the original. It's been 24 fucking years. It's a different era in this in the Roman Empire. Like, make a new story. Give us completely new characters, completely disconnected from any of the events in the original.
Maybe
it does not help this movie whatsoever.
Maybe it should have been, instead of this particular part of Lucius's life, let's follow him from the time that he left Rome until he, becomes the king of Rome.
Maybe, yeah.
Right? Like, I don't know.
Like you said, I don't know how to fix this movie. This movie
you don't make it. That's how you fix it.
That's how you fix it. You just make sure it doesn't exist. But it's just so messy and so off key the entire time that I'm just thinking, like, wait, what was the idea here?
Well, and I'm gonna tell you this, like, I could guarantee you anything that you like about this movie, I will poke holes in. Like, when you talk about the emperors, okay, yeah, like, they come off as assholes, but did you actually see anything that makes you think that they're bad emperors? Like, the only thing that maybe, right? Paul Mescal.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal.
Paul Pascal.
Paul Pascal.
Paul Pascal.
Peter
Pascal picked a pair of pickled peppers.
Pedro Pascal. He comes back from, basically conquering Northern Africa. And the two emperors like, okay, you got 3 days to chill with your wife, but we want India and we want. He said 2 countries.
He
India
did say, and
then
Fred
some
Heineken's
other
like,
place.
they can eat wool. God, I'm sorry, but their acting was killing me in this movie. They were the most enjoyable characters. in this movie.
Yeah, they're hamming it up.
They're so hammy.
The issue, I don't even care.
They're the only characters that seem like they're having any fun in this movie. And it's sad because, like, Denzel has a couple of moments where it seems like he's enjoying this, but overall, I'm like, I'm not really seeing this character that he's playing. I'm just kind of seeing
Denzel.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what character he's playing.
Please,
he was Alonzo Harris.
Oh yeah, he was, wasn't he? Yeah.
He was.
There's literally a moment at the end that just completely reminded me of the finale of fucking Training Day.
Yes, I was like, this is fucking Training Day.
Like the very ending of this movie.
Yes.
Like he's got two sides basically ganging up on him.
Yes.
Everybody's fighting Mezcal.
Yeah.
Essentially, and it's just like, and Mezcal is the Ethan Hawke of this movie.
Yes.
He really is.
Yes, it's
and
Training Day.
I had that fucking thought at the end of this movie. I'm like, are they low key ripping off the third act of Training Day?
I'm gonna put shackles on all you bitches.
Bring out the Manila. Bring out the Manila.
You niggas would be playing soccer in Persia if it wasn't for me.
Caesar ain't got shit on me.
Hercules ain't got shit on me.
He's doing that at the end of this movie. And that's his character in this movie.
Yes.
He's just manipulating all sides constantly.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
he barely even had an accent, it
Yes,
felt like,
he
in this
did.
movie.
He's Alonzo Harris.
And I'm just like, dude, what is he doing?
Gladiator II became Training Day at the end.
It did become Training Day at the end.
And the white guy walks away with everybody's respect.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Whoops.
The only thing is he didn't get shot in the ass.
He didn't get shot in the ass.
That's the only difference.
And he also didn't do anything in this movie, it felt like.
But that's the thing. At least Alonzo Harris is doing shit. You see him scheming in the background. And I mean, he does... spoilers.
I mean, like, Mezcal, like, if he's, like, akin to somebody like Ethan Hawke's character in Training Day, Ethan Hawke feels like he does shit in that movie.
Sure.
Like Pascal doesn't feel like he fucking Mezcal doesn't feel like he does anything in this whole movie.
No, stuff is just happening. He gives
stuff is happening around him, and we're just supposed to care about his character because he's related to Maximus.
Yeah,
and I'm like, again, obvious, but who cares?
And again, you make such a great point. Thank you so much, Davis. Everything is just his connection to Maximus. There's nothing about this character that makes him stand on his own besides biting a fucking monkey.
Exactly.
And boxing a motherfucker. Like, they're just... this movie sucks.
It does
This
suck.
movie fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
There's another...
It's like if... Like, this is like if... like, you're not gonna love this comparison, but this is like if they made The Last Jedi... and they just, at the end of this movie, immediately revealed that Rey was a Skywalker. Like, actually related to them. And did nothing new or interesting.
Yeah.
Like, if this movie, at the very least, if it kept that shred of mystery, like, maybe he's related to this person, maybe he's not, and then he's not, and he's forging his own destiny for himself, that would be... I could at least give the movie credit for having one cool idea. But it doesn't even do that. It just foreshadows the most obvious thing the entire time until it's just like, they barely even reveal it. Because they just expect you to know it. It's weird. It's a weird sense of direction that this movie has.
There's another part that I just do have to mention, right? Because what's her face? Connie Nielsen. Okay, so she is one of the few people that occurs in both movies.
Who else is in the original?
The guy with the white hair who plays Cicero, he's in this movie.
Who?
If I showed you, his name's Derek Jacobi. Oh no, is this?
Oh,
yes, Derek Jacobi.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah,
he was in the original.
Yes, he is.
I don't remember him.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah, he is.
Cool.
He gets fucking killed like 5 seconds at the end of the movie. I'm like, God damn, he came back to basically be in 2 scenes, and one of them he's being fucking gutted by a no-name guy. Also, who else is in this movie? The only thing that I smiled at in this movie, my guy Gregor Clegane was in here.
I saw that too. Yeah, like, Rory McCann.
Yeah, the Hound, baby.
When I noticed that, or I think Sandor Clegane.
Yeah, Sandor. Yeah,
Sandor.
Yeah, Gregor's the Mountain. Fuck that motherfucker.
Yeah. No, the Hound, bro.
Yeah.
He comes in, and I see him in that helmet, and I'm like, who is that guy? I know that guy, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that the Hound?
That's the Hound.
Is that
baby.
Rory McCann?
Yeah.
That was charming. Yeah. I was like, that's cool. He should have had an expanded role.
I mean, maybe
not that they would have done anything with his character, because they don't do anything with anyone.
And again, I don't know where to begin to make this movie better. Like it even like a fun Denzel performance can't save the movie, because there are times when like he is a charming guy.
He's charismatic.
He's charismatic.
He's a great actor. There's nothing wrong with his performance per se. Again, it was weird that he didn't really have much of an accent, but it's just like he's performing. He feels like the character that's performing the most in this movie, aside from the twins.
Sure.
But I don't care about his character.
Yeah.
There's no depth or anything to him. He's one of the least interesting villains I've seen in a while, honestly. And that should not have been the case. Well, you cast Denzel as the villain of your movie, and you slowly kind of build him up to be the villain. And none of it really feels that earned.
Well, because a lot of his pain happened off screen, right? Like so here's the thing. I know
they kind of indicate that in the third act too.
He's the former slave of Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, and Connie Nielsen's father, whatever, yeah.
And
Richard Harris.
Yeah, right. And he was the slave of the former king. And he said he has some powerful lines that just fall flat because the truth is the movie sucks, right?
Because you just don't care.
Yeah.
So no matter how much of a bar somebody might drop, it's just like, okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And even Denzel's delivery of the bars still great. So you have one of the greatest actors in American film history and delivering these lines, and even they're just not effective. But he quotes Cicero earlier in the movie how like slaves don't dream of being free men, they dream of owning slaves. And closer to the end of the movie, when his plot is revealed to what's her face, Connie Nielsen, he says Rome is the only place where a slave can be owned, and then later on they can own the empire. And that would have been a great quote if we gave a fuck about his ascent up the throne, right? And man,
because you barely get the sense that he's ascending.
No,
it's like you for most of the movie, I don't even know what his angle is, and maybe that's part of the idea of it because he's playing both sides for half the story. But it just adds to the messiness of the plot here because you have so many plot threads that happening at the same time,
right.
And so I don't know which one to connect to.
Well, they even try to throw in something at the end with the two emperors where it's like the older, well, not the taller twin is looking at the younger twin.
Joseph Quinn's one.
Yeah, Joseph Quinn is like, hey, my little brother, like, he's got syphilis and it's fucking up his brain. Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on with him. And that is introduced so poorly.
I know, it's just kind of like thrown away.
I was scratching my head like, wait, what?
It's like these characters have things you could have spent time developing and you just don't.
And besides Fred Hetchinger, the other shorter emperor, just sort of like looking doopy and like, having a monkey, I have no reason to think that he makes bad decisions. Right.
It's like the worst quality about them that we're shown is that they're just kind of dicks.
Yeah, they're kids, basically. They're only interested in like fucking and partying.
Exactly.
Which is some kid shit, I guess.
Exactly, especially when you're on the throne. That's all you'd want to do. Yeah. I just watched The Last Duel yesterday, and that's Ben Affleck's character throughout the entire movie.
Yes.
But he is a three-dimensional character that they round out throughout that movie. Ben Affleck gives one of his best performances he's ever given in years as an actor in that movie, and he's actually charismatic to a point where you care in that movie.
But the other thing that The Last Duel does is that you present that character in different types of scenarios.
Contexts.
Yeah. Like, it's not just...
Like, from the context of Matt Damon in the first act of the movie, it's just like he's presented as one-dimensional. Then the second chapter with... Adam Driver's context, he's presented as like kind of like a open-minded thinker in a lot of ways, like a lot more than you would think.
Right.
And then in the third act, you just see his pure complicity to this horrible act that was committed by Adam Driver. So in this movie, you don't get anything from the twins.
No.
Like, there's no character development. It's just the charisma of Joseph Quinn and Fred Heidecker that is just carrying their characters.
I
don't know, man. I don't know what else to say about this movie.
I do want to make one last point, and this was like I wanted to love this movie, and the CGI animals threw me off. Right, like they sucked.
I got bad flashbacks when the Rhino came out to Black Panther.
Oh God.
Like, that movie does a lot of things wrong in the third act with its CGI.
Oof.
But those rhinos will forever be a scar on my brain.
Yeah, that was bad.
When I saw that rhino come out in this movie, I was like, oh my God. Like, here's the thing. It's not that I'm mad that there's a rhino. I'm just mad that there's a rhino that looks terrible in a CGI. And if I were to choose between just having a rhino and not having a rhino, if the alternative was having a rhino that's CGI or no rhino, easily just don't bring out a rhino.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. Just bring out that guy, have him mow down a couple of other guys before he gets to Paul Mescal, and then it just shows how formidable he is. You don't need a rhino. You don't need a shitty-looking rhino. Like, what is the point of this? It looks bad.
In the first Gladiator, when like Maximus is 1v1 this like champion gladiator Tigress, and Tigress comes out and he has the helmet with the fucking mask that like, it's like, God damn.
The gladiators have no personality in this movie either.
Don't,
like, man. Not even in the costume department whatsoever. God. It's like that the original has that quality to it.
At least you have Jimon Hansu.
Yeah.
Right? Like the black guy. And
he's
then,
great in that movie.
Yeah.
But it's like when Paul Mescal's fighting the gladiators, I'm just like, I don't give a shit. And here's the thing. You watch this movie and you kind of assume that it's going to build up to this climactic one-on-one battle between Mescal and Pedro Pascal. And so we're, again, in spoiler territory. We get to that point in the movie. And I don't like how the movie is presenting that as like a misunderstanding between the characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted it to be vengeful on both sides.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I kind of wanted this to be a real showdown. Yeah. Like, you've seen the movie Warrior, right?
Yes.
That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best fighting boxing movies ever made, up there with something like Rocky. And it takes a lot of influence from Rocky. But that movie has awesome emotional depth And you kind of have an idea where the third act of that movie is going to go, because these two brothers who are highly estranged and a little bit disdainful about each other enter this fight tournament for the UFC, and you kind of know that it's going to end with a one-on-one fight with them. First of all, the final fight between the two of them is excellent, and they actually fight each other, even though they don't really want to.
Right.
But it's excellent. In this movie, Paul Mescal has a bone to pick with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
It's established in the beginning of the movie. You have all this context given to Pedro Pascal to make you think to give him some sympathy and everything. And then he is literally, Pedro Pascal is thrown into the fucking arena because he committed treason for trying to take over the throne. And then Paul Mescal just runs out into the Coliseum and immediately starts wailing on him. And Pedro Pascal's like, stop, no, I'm not trying to fight you, stop. So he's like holding back the entire fight. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted to see.
No.
I want to see them duke it out. I want to see a fight here. It's like, we just watched the fucking, I just watched the Tyson and Paul fight.
Yeah.
And oh my God, what a dog shit fight that was.
Yeah. I didn't even pay for it. I wanted my money back.
Yeah, that's fair. Just like, you know what? Just charge me.
Yeah.
just give me the money for not watching that shitty ass fight. But that's how it felt watching this, where I'm just like, that was a whole lot of nothing. And you expect the movie to kind of, that to be the climax of the film. And it's just also not.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's kind of the end of the second act of the movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, there's still movie left to get over with? If this movie had me caring about anything to the point where I'm like, okay, we're going to see some kind of a cool payoff to this, I thought it was just going to be a third act climactic fight between Paul Mescal and Pedro Pascal. And it's not climactic whatsoever. It's a pretty lame ass fight. And then the movie keeps going for another 40 minutes, wrapping up a bunch of other shit I don't care about. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? This is a mess.
It's a mess.
This is an absolute mess.
Even it's such a mess that the shit that you said, I had like a billion thoughts. I mean, just to boil it down, this movie fucking reeks. It sucks.
See, like, I'm like, it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't hate it, but I'm not ever going to watch this again.
No.
And I'm probably going to forget about it by next week.
And by the way, you said that you were indifferent, but I have convinced you that this movie is fucking bad.
So you have.
Yes.
You absolutely have convinced me. It's like, am I going to say this is a great movie? Absolutely not.
Fuck no.
I think it's one of the most underwhelming movies I've seen this year.
Yeah.
And I felt that way, I think, the most about, like, Furiosa when we saw this, when we saw that back in May.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, damn, Furiosa's kind of good, actually.
Yeah. Well, because it's not reinventing the wheel, and it's not a soulless reinvention,
and it's not a retread of any of the previous Mad Max movies at all. It actually feels original and like it's its own original story.
As there's a ton of stuff in there where I'm like, wow, that was cool. Another thing, you talked about The Warrior, you talked about Rocky, even Furiosa. The action set pieces in all those movies, the violence, it has points to the story. Like in Gladiator II, yeah, like, okay, I'm watching motherfuckers chop each other up, right?
Like, for historical accuracy, the violence works, but it's like, it feels pretty senseless.
It is senseless because it just doesn't make any difference to the story. There's moments in the first Gladiator, right, where I told you in the middle of this battle, Maximus goes out and saves another gladiator. And what does that do in the middle of this action set piece? Now, in the rest of the story, he has the respect of all these other gladiators.
Exactly.
Right? There's another point where, again, small details. When Joaquin Phoenix is trying to have Russell Crowe murdered by these soldiers, Russell Crowe beats most of them. And then the final guy's trying to pull his sword out of the scabbard. But Maximus, and it's in the winter, it's cold. And Russell Crowe says Frost makes the blade stick in the scabbard, so that's why he can't pull out, and then fucking kills the guy. And it's like, it just tells you, even in the middle of all this madness, Russell Crowe's the fucking man. Maximus is the fucking man.
He's thinking it out.
He's battle tested.
Yeah.
He knows everything. He has just.
Paul Mescal is just kind of doing shit without thinking throughout this whole movie. Like, there's a moment that was kind of like, again, back to the senseless violence component. It was so stupid, But after he defeats the rhino riding gladiator that came out, he stabs him in the chest, and he's on his knees, and then everybody's chanting, like, finish him, finish him. And then he takes up the other sword and just chops his head off with both swords.
Yeah.
And I'm like, was that necessary?
No.
Like, who are you trying to appease right now? And it's like, I get it, the showmanship of it all, but he does the opposite later when everybody's chanting, kill this guy. Yes. And it's just like, he just doesn't do anything. Yes. He's just like, I don't need to finish this guy off. He's already dead. And I'm just like, what are we doing all this for?
You know what would have been better? If you see Lucius actually regret killing the rhino guy.
Yeah.
If he says, damn, this boss is
just
terrible.
like, yeah, like you just see the regret on his face, like it looks down. Something, some detail.
Yeah, and even that would have made it strong because it said, okay, this man who murdered my wife, I feel so bad about murdering this stranger that I won't even murder my worst enemy. Mm-hmm. Like, just even he's presenting himself to me.
Or at the very least, if he stayed convicted, where he's just like, I'm trying to kill one person and one person only. I'm not trying to kill anyone else. Yeah. And that is Pedro Pascal's character.
Yeah. And it would have been better if he killed him, because then he says, you know what? Like, I killed this man who was a hero to the people. Mm-hmm. And even though he murdered my wife, I still believe in a Rome that my grandfather believed in. The Rome that he dreamed of.
Yep.
And none of this shit matters to Ridley Scott.
Nope. For whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, he makes the original. He puts so much attention to detail and so much care into that film. So much practicality. A lot of great performances. And then this movie just has none of it.
Gladiator.
And I would argue this movie has like a better cast, like ensemble cast, than the original. Like, especially for today's standards, because the original was kind of Russell Crowe's breakout.
A young Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, because you see him in what's his face? When he's a genius. Yeah, let's look at Russell Crowe's shit.
Like you said, like, what's better? It's just like, I can name a good amount of movies that I like Russell Crowe and more. Again, okay, Nice Guys, Insider, L.A. Confidential.
L.A. Confidential is great. Absolutely.
Those are some.
I love that.
I guess I just like when he's in noir style movies.
Yeah, and by the way, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to actually. Okay, let's go. See, nothing is coming up from 95. So Virtuosity, he was in with Denzel, but apparently that movie wasn't great. Some people like it. L.A. Confidential in 97.
Yep.
Okay, I do love that movie.
That's a great movie.
The Insider is great. I agree. Gladiator 2000. Come on, man. A Beautiful Mind. The year after. That's
Master
a good movie.
Master and Commander.
Great movie.
Cinderella Man.
Cinderella Man.
Another fight movie.
Okay, you know what? Maybe
and then he was in 3:10 to Yuma and American Gangster. Yes. Oh, American Gangster. That's the other Ridley Scott movie in my top 5.
Okay.
Love fucking American Gangster.
Okay.
That came out wrong.
You might be no. You might be, and Body of Lies is good with
Body of Lies is good.
Yeah,
that's an underrated Ridley Scott movie, honestly.
And it's very underrated Leo movie.
It is.
Okay, so no, he has
He's a great actor.
Gladiator is my favorite movie, but he is a great actor. He's had tons of great movies.
There's a ton of movies you can pick where he's like the best.
And
he's a Ridley Scott regular as well, even like with Robin Hood.
I'm glad that he missed this one.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was bad. This movie sucked. But what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do, right? I mean,
are you gonna see Kraven the Hunter? That's another.
I saw the trailer for that movie while watching this.
Same.
And I completely forgot that movie existed. Yeah. But I gotta admit, the Rhino looks like a lot more interesting in that movie than it was in Gladiator.
Yeah, sure. If we're looking for the best movie Rhino, Davis is on the hunt.
Here's the thing. I watched that trailer. I completely forgot that movie was even coming out. And it was the Red Band trailer that they played. I didn't even know that movie was about to get a hard R. And I'm watching this and I'm like, honestly, this don't even look that bad. And I don't think I've said that about a single Sony produced film. Like when it comes to the like Marvel characters, outside of the Spider-Verse movies. And I'm just like, this doesn't actually look that bad. Right at this point, I would have rather gone and watched that movie than sit through this.
Well, I think for me in particular, my expectations were probably too high in hindsight. Like
this was one of your top movies that you were looking forward to this year.
This was my most anticipated movie of the year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Damn.
And
I'm really sorry.
And I actually liked Furiosa. This Gladiator 2 makes Furiosa look like Terminator 2.
I like Furiosa now.
Yeah, like
you know what? We also now like The Watchers. Woo!
Yeah,
just kidding.
Because we're so...
just kidding.
Just kidding.
But here's the thing. I would rather rewatch The Watchers at this point because it's a much shorter movie.
Well, I would have to be drunk to watch The Watchers again. But
it would make it fun. Anything.
Also, I would have to watch it. It can't just be me and you. It has to be maybe one or two other people who've never seen it before.
A group so we can just glare at them drunk as we're watching this. Like, you seeing how stupid this is?
Yes.
There's no amount of substances that I think could make this movie interesting. Not even the dialogue was good in this movie.
No.
Like, I wanted, like, again, The Last Duel. Mm-hmm. Most of that movie's dialogue. It's not really based on, like, the action sequences or the battle sequences. There's a couple of them, and they're great in that movie.
Yeah.
They're so gritty and brutal. They're, like, really good in that movie. But that movie's mostly dialogue-driven, and it's just the social politics of 14th century France. Mm-hmm. But it's really good and rich dialogue. Mm-hmm. In this movie, there's none of that. Just none of that. Half the things that are even coming out of people's mouths either don't even sound right, like they're saying it weird, or it's just really bad writing.
Yeah, because there's a lot of period pieces, right, where I've been watching a lot of old, like, BBC shows, and they have, like the whole cast has the same accent, right? So if, like, a British cast is playing these Roman characters or whatever, it's like, okay, like, at least within this world... they're just all speaking English, right? Because even in the movie, Denzel asks, what's his face, what language do you speak? I speak them all. And it's like, you asked this in English, but it's a fucking Roman. Like,
no, but like almost nobody feels like they have an accent in this movie whatsoever. Well, it's weird.
Exactly. Right?
I don't know what the accent of like the time of the Roman Empire is supposed to be. But everybody sounds like they just migrated from upstate New York.
It could be, it legit could be anywhere. It could be any multicultural place in the U.S.
Yes, but everyone sounds the same in this movie.
Right. Like this
when
movie
it comes like
sucks.
It's a historical epic. Where's the copious amounts of historical accuracy? It's weird. It's a weird movie.
The only thing that I did like was I kind of. When I get older, I want to look like how Denzel looks in this movie. I want to be wearing like fucking like shower curtains.
He had the best drip in this movie. I'll give him this.
I wanted earrings after this shit.
Same, right? I don't think I've seen Denzel with earrings.
I'm gonna get some fucking earrings.
He looks good.
Yeah, he's got the gray, like the gray look good.
The gray hair was cool.
The gray hair looked cool.
Like that was a good touch.
Yeah. I liked how he was just like really crouching in the chair, just looking at these white people. Mm-hmm. It's like Denzel is me at
a gladiator match.
Just me at a bar, people watching.
Just perched.
Yeah, just. And he's watching this lady realize that her son is a gladiator because he picks up dirt the same way that her ex picks up dirt. And this nigga says the same poem that she used to say to her kid a long time ago, and he swings a sword the exact same. It's just dumb.
It's so dumb.
Don't go see this movie.
Yeah, I don't think this is coming with a huge recommendation from this. Go see, you'll probably have more fun with Wicked. It's like it's not even really a dad movie.
No.
I expect dads to be smarter than this.
This is an absentee dad movie.
Absentee dad.
Yeah, only absentee dads.
True that. Yeah.
Go see this movie.
Uneducated dads. You'll enjoy this movie.
If I see you in this theater watching this movie, I'm going to assume that you're likely to abandon your children.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like Maximus.
Jesus.
I'm just kidding. He died. It's not his fault.
Well, I mean, he kind of did.
He kind of did.
Yeah.
He got his son killed.
Damn.
Just kidding again.
Oh. No, I was even talking about Lucius. Like, he had a sad baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
What's sad is, like, Paul Mescal is such a good actor. He's an Academy Award nominated actor, for God's sakes. Like, he's got leading man chops. Mm-hmm. He just needs a better script. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, we're not really recommending this movie. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
We're done with this. Mm-hmm. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
I hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Take your family to see something that isn't this, or don't. I don't care. Gladiator II, not recommended by us.
Nope.
But thanks for tuning in, guys. This is fun. This is fun. We haven't talked shit about a movie for a minute. So hopefully we don't have to do that again for the rest of this year. Romanus, thank you for this.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the indulgence.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know what our next movie is exactly going to be, but it's going to be something probably better than this. So stay tuned, With both of us here, this has been the Loose Leaf Media Podcast. My name is Davis Leaf. Did this with my co-host,
Romanus. Aurelius.
Very Roman of you.
Yes.
No pun intended.
It means citizen of Rome.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's lovely, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye, guys.
Take care. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.